Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Ziggy Knows YouTube weekly sports card content breakdown and review. So the goal of this really isn't to make you guys go out and watch, 15 different YouTube channels. The goal is to highlight the videos you might want to watch on maybe 15 different YouTube channels. Bear with me. Also, I hope that the content I'm giving you is beneficial and helps you making decisions in your sports card journey, whether you're collecting, investing, or a dealer. Let's kick it off with our first content, Baubles and Ball Card. Subscribers 424. They are continuing to grow. The reason I bring up Baubles and Ball Card is this guy does a great show. He's a big baseball card fan. He does a great one talking about complete sets versus pull pack. But this week, what caught my attention was he talks about SGC and his mail day and how he's trying to sell SGC slab cards. And he's making a comment that he feels like, first of all, SGC does not do well in auctions. In auctions, they always do less than BGS or PSA. But more importantly, he says that too many SGC sellers are quick to take lower offers, right? And he's pushing them to hold their ground. And he gives an example of how he held his ground in a card and he sold the card for more money. So great story, and gave me some great insight in the impact of SGC on the market. So takeaway, SGC is not doing well in auctions and still selling under PSA. Next content provider I want to spend a few seconds talking about is Sports Card Live. Huge fan of Sports Card Live as he breaks 370 mark this week. I think when I started following him, he was around 200. I think his channel is going to take off. And that's because he's doing really, really cool interviews with people in the industry. 2 interviews a week. Interview number 12 was with Stefan, which I'll be honest, I didn't know Stefan at all, young guy, but I thought it was great to get his perspective of the hobby. And he was also giving it from the perspective as a hockey collector. So I learned a lot on that video. These interviews are long and lengthy, so maybe put them on as a podcast. The next one, which I found absolutely amazing, was Dr. Brian Price. I had no idea who this guy was before, but he apparently was a manufacturer of hockey cards and made the product, worked in hockey, worked in shows. I was blown away by this interview. This guy was really cool. I really enjoyed it. I will say one thing that was shocking to me was he seemed, for a guy who made his living in the hobby, out of touch with what's going on in the hobby today. When Jeremy asked him his thoughts on the recent selling of the $900,000 cards, he was shocked, almost as to say, like, in a bad way shocked. I mean, I was shocked too, but in a positive way shocked. So anyway, check out his interviews and follow Sports Card Live. Huge fan there. Next content provider up is a baseball card collector, investor, dealer. Really big fan of this guy. If you're not following him, subscribe now. Good stuff. What I like about him, unlike some channels, he's very to the point and unbiased. He'll tell you what his opinion is, but he lays out the facts before you. He gives a great breakdown of graders. He talks at SGC, PSA, and VGS. I highly recommend this because he's impartial. He does give you his preferences and what he thinks is good about each one, but it's told in a very business-like explanation. He also runs a weekly video, which I love watching, which is the high rollers. He's showing you the top 20 cards in the sports card world that sold last week on eBay. Last week on eBay, not in the last year, not last month, or the top 10 ever. These are what just happened last week. I'll give you a little surprise. This week, number 20 starts at $30,000, and many of them are Jordan cards. Next content provider I want to review real quickly is Sports Card Investor. Big fan of Sports Card Investor. If you don't know, I obviously am involved in the Facebook group. I'm an admin over there. But I also like his approach to the hobby. He's educating the hobby, and he's got a tool that he's using to help people, invest in the hobby. He does a great video this week about shill bidding, which I think is very important for those people who don't understand it. He talks about what it is. He also talks about market manipulation. And he talks about how his tool can help move that data out so you don't see manipulated data and you can make your decisions a little bit better. So big fan of Sports Card Investors content. Also a great episode this week on soccer, which is new to me. But the soccer expert on there was amazing. Stuff I learned was big, and soccer could be huge in the future. I'll go next into Slab Stocks. Want to keep things flowing. Slab Stocks, another great show that I've been watching on a weekly basis. There's 3 main guys on this show. You got one guy is focused on baseball, one guy is focused on basketball, and the other guy I think focuses on all the sports, to be honest with you. But real quickly, in a brief synopsis, Dinging Corners, great breakdown of the Bowman baseball class, who the prospects are, who he's looking at, who he recommends you should look at. If you don't know anything about Bowman or you don't know about prospecting, highly recommend listening to that. Sam Dunks does a great, or Sam on Sam Dunks does a great show going through the NBA rookie class. Again, very, very valuable. And the third guy, whose name I forget, does a great show just kind of breaking down what's happening in the sports card community. Not the same way I'm doing it. He's kind of looking more at the global side. I'm looking at more at the micro side. Next content provider I want to highlight that I know many of you guys are not spending enough time listening to, and that is Mojo Breaks. And the reason I think that is because when you hear Mojo Breaks, you think breaker and you think these guys are just pushing their brakes. And they are breakers. And I came across them as a breaker probably 5 or 6 years ago. But I've been listening to the hype on Mojo Breaks for probably 2 or 3 years. I have up here in the bar, Mojo Breaks the Hype, episode 139. You have to put it in there with Mojo Breaks the Hype so you get the hype shows. But recently, what I love about these guys is with their experience, you know, they're talking about the craze going on in the hobby. There's a great point here where they're talking about LeBron James cards going for $800 and $700 out of Mosaic. I don't understand that, guys. I mean, we're talking about a non-numbered card, you know, first year product going for $700, $800. Like, I'm just going to leave it at that. So check out Mojo Breaks. Big fan of Mojo Breaks. Some of the best content, some of the best stories in the hobby. The next content provider I want to spend a few moments on is Hobby Hotline. Huge fans of these guys. Like some of the other ones I've mentioned before, getting great info here. You've got 8 guys who put together this channel, Hobby Hotline. 2 of them, by the way, are from Mojo Breaks. And every week, it's Saturday morning, 2 or 3 of them will get on, and they'll take guests, they'll take call-ins, and they talk about sports, talk about what's going on in the hobby this week, whether it's the recent release or, you know, Project 2020 was hot, whatever it might be. I really, really like these guys' opinion, their perspective, and I like the fact it's live and you can call in yourself and ask questions. In fact, 2 of my friends called in a few weeks ago. I was excited to see. I also came across other content providers listening to the show, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. One of those content providers, as an example, is the Sports Card Talk Show. So I gave you a live card show, right? Sports Card Live. I've talked about the Hobby Hotline, and now there's Sports Card Talk Live Show, or Sports Card Talk Show. 2 brothers, they're Minnesota Viking fans, started a channel up, I think in the last year, 548 subscribers. It's a fun show. And what I like is they do interviews with just about anybody. You want to be on the show? You can be on the show. Is it educational? It's insightful. I'm learning a lot. I'm also learning stuff, you know, meeting people I didn't realize. In fact, on a later video, I'll talk about, I saw a guy on here who does his own repack products. I'll talk about that in a later video. I don't like repack. Last content provider I'm going to spend some time on for this video is going to be House of Jordan. Huge fan of these guys. As I said before in my last video, it's probably the best produced content on the internet. They broke 1,000 subscribers recently. They're on a fast climb upward. They have three main interviewers or hosts. Christina on Christina's Corner does interviews on Tuesday night. She did one with Emma, who was the lady who wrote the Sports Illustrated article. It was pretty insightful. The week before, I believe she had an interview with PSA Collector. I found that a little more insightful. But again, I really like House of Jordan. I like the content. They do a show, I think, every Friday, and they drop content out on YouTube all week long. So definitely recommend checking out House of Jordan. Thank you very much for joining me. This is part 1 of a 2-part episode. I like to keep these videos short and concise. I'll be back in just a few moments with part 2. Hope you'll come back, subscribe, like, and give me your comments.